Okay, so we talked about using significant figures and calculations. Now we're going to talk about using prefixes and equalities prefixes and equalities, okay? So our learning goal is to use the numerical values of prefixes to write a metric equality, and you'll see how this is going to make sense in just a moment. So first of all, the prefixes we're interested in are a special feature of the metric system, in that a prefix can be placed in front of any unit to increase or decrease its size by a factor of 10. For example, the milligram is like a gram, except it's smaller, right? So we use milli to mean something smaller and micro to mean something smaller yet, right? So we'll show exactly what these values are here in the next slide. So here's a bunch of examples. Peta, which we won't see very often. Peta is a prefix that means 10 to the 15. Tera means 10 to the 12, which is a trillion. Giga means 10 to the 9, which is a billion. Mega means 10 to the 6, which is a million. Kilo means 10 to the 3, which is 1,000. And deci, which we don't use very often, means 0.1. 10 to the minus 1. Centi, we use more often. That's 1/100th, okay? Milli means 1 to the 0.001 or 10 to the minus 3 or 1/1000th. This is the same thing as 1/1000th. Micro means 1/1,000,000th, right? Nano means 1/1000,000th. A pico means 1/1,000,000,000th. And a femto means 10 to the minus 15. I don't know what that means. Okay? So let's use these in some examples. So for example, a kilometer means 10 to the 3 meters, right? Because kilo means 10 to the 3. A kiloliter means 10 to the 3 or 1,000 liters. And a kilogram means 10 to the 3 or 1,000 grams, right? That's what those mean. All right, so let's do some more examples here. Just to sort of from other parts of your life, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration uses metric prefixes to express amounts of daily nutrient requirements. For example, calcium is 1 gram. The amount that you need for 1 day is a gram. Let's highlight these instead. Copper, we need 2 milligrams each day, which is amazing, isn't it? That we need that for our it's really amazing. 2 milligrams of copper per day in our diet. 150 micrograms of iodine. Iron is 18 milligrams. Magnesium, do you see what's going on here? Okay. So these are some examples from other parts of your life where we use these prefixes to make our numbers cleaner. For example, let me just quickly say, if we were writing these out just in terms of grams, we would say calcium is 1 gram, copper is 0.002 grams, right? In terms of grams, this is all in grams. Iodine is 0.00001, no. 0.000150 grams, right? Iron is 0.018 grams. Magnesium is 0. You can see how these numbers are not nearly as clean, right? Niacin is 0.020 grams, right? Phosphorus is 0. And these just aren't nearly as neat as if we use the prefixes. And we get numbers that are just nice and clean if we use prefixes. And that's what that's about. So let's do a learning check. So fill in the blanks with the correct prefix. So 1,000 meters is a kilometer, right? I should have paused. Pause this video first. I should have given you a chance to do that. Pause the video and write your answers in, and then see if they're the same as mine. Okay, so let me suppose that you actually did pause the video, that you're an obedient student, right? And 10 to the minus 3 is a milligram, okay? And 0.01 is a centimeter, right? That's what centa means right there. All right. So now let's look at an example from healthcare. Ophthalmologists measure the diameter of the eye's retina in terms of centimeters. in terms of centimeters, while a surgeon measures the length of a nerve in terms of millimeters. Why? Well, that's because where lengths of nerves are much smaller than the diameter of the retina, right? And so consequently, a smaller unit will be more appropriate for that. So each of the following equalities describes the same length in a different unit. 1 meter is 100 centimeters, and 1 meter is 1,000 millimeters, right? So you can see why, you wouldn't describe like your path to school in terms of inches. You would describe the length of the path of school to school from your house, let's say, more probably in miles or kilometers, right? All right, so let's talk about volume then. This is measuring volume, and some just sort of normal ranges for albumin in the blood is maybe 3.4 to 5.4 grams per deciliter, right? Ammonia is going to be 20 to 70 micrograms per deciliter, right? Calcium might be 8. Can you see how these numbers are really convenient? 3.5, 20, 8.5. So we're just changing the units to make them easy to deal with. Milligrams per deciliter. Cholesterol, 105 to 250 milligrams per deciliter, right? Iron in a male is 80 to 160 micrograms per deciliter, right? So you can see how that, we're just playing around with the units to make things convenient for the people reading it. So, when a student comes into the class, they might be tempted to say, well, this is a pain. Why don't we just all use the same units? And I would say after you get used to these units, it becomes very easy. And it turns out we would much rather deal with small, natural numbers than unnatural, units. Okay, so let's talk about now, this is a common one which I think is going to be useful to you, the cubic centimeter, the cc. This is a cubic centimeter is abbreviated as that or cc. It's the volume of a cube whose dimensions are 1 centimeter on each side, of course, because it's a cubic centimeter, right? Now, a cubic centimeter is the same volume as a milliliter. And this is something I think you'll get used to. When you see a cubic centimeter, you know it's the same thing as a mil. Right? So sometimes when I'm talking in class, I'll read that and I'll write milliliter because it's the same thing. I'm so used to it, it's just the same thing. So I want to tell you that now, that a cubic centimeter and a milliliter are the same thing, and hopefully that'll be something that's super easy for you later. This is just a visual to help you appreciate what's going on here. I don't think that's necessarily, let's skip this slide. There's a milliliter or a cc, and if you have a cube, it's 10 centimeters on one side and 10 centimeters in here, 10 centimeters this way, then it's a 1 liter. Well, one thousandth of that is going to be 1 cc. All right. So now let's talk about the same concept in terms of mass. When you visit the doctor for a physical, your mass is recorded in kilograms, and laboratory results in grams, milligrams, and micrograms, which are mostly going to be doing mu g, right, instead of an mcg, but mcg is meant to be the same thing. So examples of equalities from different metric units of mass go as follows. A kilogram, right, that means 1,000 right there, so that's 1,000 grams, all right, or it means 10 to the 3 grams, right? 1 gram is, 1 milli means 1/1000th, right? So it's going to take 1,000 thousandths to make a gram, right? And 1 centigram, centi is 1/100th, so it's going to take 100 100ths to make a gram, right? That's what that's about. All right, so let's finish this off with a learning check. Pause the video here, make a guess about what I'm going to say, and then we'll see if we're thinking the same thing. Okay, so let me suppose that you did pause the video, and let me come here. Identify the larger unit of the following. Which is bigger, a millimeter or a centimeter? So I'm going to take the millimeter, I'm going to rewrite 1 times 10 to the minus 3. That's a milli right there, right? Or 1 times 10 to the minus 2, because a centimeter is that, right? Well, that's definitely bigger, because that's a small thing. So this is bigger. So we're going to say the centimeter is bigger. Now, a kilogram or centigram. Killi means 1 times 10 to the 3 grams, right? And a centigram means 1 times 10 to the minus 2 grams, right? So, well, this is definitely bigger, so we're going to say the kilogram is bigger. All right, a milliliter or a microliter. Milli means 1 times 10 to the minus 3 liters, and a micro means 1 times 10 to the minus 6 liters. Well, this is definitely bigger, so the milliliter is bigger. And a kiloliter is bigger. All right, this is a microgram or microliter. We oftentimes write it like that. Microliter, same thing. Micro is very small, and killi means 10 to the 3. Can you read my writing? Well, that's really bad writing, isn't it? Let me write this over again. 10 to the 3. And microliter is 10 to the minus 6 liters, right? Well, that's definitely bigger. So this is the bigger one here, that's the bigger one here, that's the bigger one here, and that's the bigger one here. All right, let's go practice some more with the homework.